All right. Hello, everyone. This is another Ubuntu Community Office Hours. I'm Monica Madden, Ubuntu Community Rep. And today we are talking about Ubuntu community events and starting some very tentative, fingers crossed, toes crossed planning for 2022. And I am joined by Diego Constantino
Hi
and
there.
Mikhail Kohutek, who
Hello.
are some of our event planning experts as far as European events go. Thank you for joining me. I know this was a little bit of a last minute ask, but especially you two have planned a lot of community events and gotten the Ubuntu community kind of out there. So, can you just kind of give us, for people who might not know some of the events that you've planned, can you tell us just more about some of the things that you've put together for the community in the past?
I may start. Well, I didn't do any of this alone, and in some of the events, I wasn't even the main planner. But I've helped organizing the Festa do Software Livre here in Portugal, which is Portuguese for Free Software Party. I was also a volunteer there, and also I was a volunteer and co-organizing of UbiCon Europe 2019, where I was definitely not the main organizer, but I was a co-organizer and a volunteer, and we also put together some smaller things and social events and get-togethers, uh, and 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 I've been mostly a volunteer in other events, like even in French Ubuntu parties and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Uh,
Awesome.
yeah, uh, and we have put a few events through the history here in Portugal. We have even started doing Ubicon Portugal, which we only did once because COVID. And yeah, we'll do it again as soon as we feel it's safe to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it's soon because we really want to do this.
Yeah, understood. All right. Well, thank you. And Ikel, what about you? Sorry.
Well, it's okay. It's definitely okay. Well, I'm not so much organizer. I'm more of a professional attendee or participant. Uh,
Professional attendee. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, I
also
often
volunteer.
volunteer. Yeah,
Yeah.
often volunteer, and I often hold booths at local events. But since for the last 2 years we haven't been able to do any in presence meetups, I was mostly just remotely talking the ears out of whoever wanted to listen. But
Mm-hmm.
we are actually planning some events in the future, and we are working hard on rebuilding our community because the Ubuntu community in Czechia and Slovakia was kind of asleep when I got back there, and there are some enthusiastic members that would like to help rebuild it. So that's what we are doing right now.
Yeah. So what was maybe the first or the first event that you went to where either you met the Ubuntu community or were part of it?
Well, I attended a few local meetings in Slovakia, but those
Hmm.
were really small and really local. But the first proper Ubuntu meetup was UbuCon in Paris. I think it was 2017, where I met Diogo and Rudy and a bunch of other very cool people. So
Yeah.
that was pretty much my initiation into Ubuntu community proper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was also the first event was also a local community event. We used to do lots of get-togethers in early Ubuntu years. So the first one was one of those, also with a small number of people, but regular people, and we were doing that very regularly. My first international event was also a NubuCon Europe in 2016 in Essen, which was really an awesome event with lots of Ubuntu community, canonical people. It was super cool event, and I was then completely hooked on community events.
Mm-hmm.
It was an epic event. It changed so many things in my life.
Yeah.
It started my involvement with the UbiPorts community. Um, it it crystallized my will to participate further on Ubuntu community and
Mm-hmm.
doing contributions. It just talking with so many people from so many different countries that loved Ubuntu as much as I do, or even more. It was just an amazing thing.
That's awesome. And was the experience was the experience similar for you when you went to the UbuCon in 2017?
Yes, definitely. Ah, sorry.
Yeah, to me it was. Yeah, it was just a continuation. It was an amazing event. We met even more people. I met Michal for the first time. I met many other people for the first time, and I checked back with the ones that I have met the year before.
Hmm.
So it was very fun. Eh, and we learned a lot also.
And and Michal, did I get that right? I'm
Yeah,
so
it
okay.
was close.
Yes, perfect. What was it like when you went to UbuCon Europe in 2017? What was your experience like?
uh, it might sound cliche, but it was literally life
Oh,
changing. Because I met a lot of people that I still talk to regularly, and we even visit each other during summer. So
oh,
Yeah, unfortunately
hopefully,
not this year.
yeah, unfortunately not this year, but hopefully next year. And yeah, it was life changing. I met so many people there. It sparked my interest in Ubuntu once again, because I did love using Ubuntu, but I was kinda not enthusiastic anymore, because I didn't meet any Ubuntu lovers in Slovakia anymore. Maybe because it just works now, so there's not much to talk about. But when I went there, I saw so many people doing such cool things with Ubuntu that it sparked my interest, and I'm loving it ever since.
Yeah, and the French community, they are the true professional organizer of Ubuntu events. They are a lean mean machine, very oiled. Everybody knows what they have to do, which is amazing. They put up the show, and they run it like it's everything they the only thing they do every day, and it's crazy how good they are doing that.
yeah. It's when we chatted with them previously, and they showed us the videos of the events that they do. I mean, even just watching the videos, you could tell it's like, whew, they are the most professional amateurs doing this. It's incredible. So, what was I going to say? And so, not only were these these specific Ubuntu events. But I know that there has been a lot of talk about. I know FOSDEM isn't going to be in person this coming year, but about having an Ubuntu community presence at FOSDEM. And so, first of all, I haven't been, but I understand FOSDEM is very, very big.
Yeah, extremely big.
Yeah.
It's so big that it's almost impossible to attend any session there.
Yeah.
You have to camp at the door uh, to be able to enter and in most of the rooms, especially the most popular communities and most popular software.
Hmm.
Actually, I remember one of our common friends staying the whole event in his hotel room and just watching the
The
watching the
stream.
talks. Yeah, the
Yeah.
streams.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's also common to just go to the cafeteria and do the same, because then you can meet people and chat with other people, and watch the stream together, and yeah, it's
But
and drink some mate.
yeah,
Ooh, that sounds good. That sounds very good.
but the streams are really high quality and
Yeah,
the whole infrastructure is top notch. So it's not
yeah,
really much of a problem not to see it in person, even though you are just standing a few hundred meters away.
Yeah.
yeah,
And so it seems like the most important thing, or it seems like a very important thing about FOSDEM is making those personal connections
yeah.
and just getting to spend time with people in your communities and getting to know new communities too.
Yeah, it's very important. Um, I remember in 2019, I sat on the cafeteria most of the time. Uh, I I maybe have attended one session, maybe. I don't even remember very well. Well,
Yeah.
I sat with all the UbiPorts folks at cafeteria. We just talked about UbiPorts, and we talked with the people that were coming by, because we sat relatively near the place where you ordered food. So people
Hmm.
were passing by us, and they were having a conversation with us about the things, like if it was a booth. So we did basically a pirate booth.
It's like we don't have an actual booth, but we're all here. So
Yeah.
just that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
we just laid lots of phones on the table to call attention to the people, and yeah, that
Yeah.
happened.
in in my honest opinion, the hallway track, as it is often called,
Hmm.
is the most important aspect of FOSDEM
Yeah,
and many other conferences. And just meeting up with people that you only know by their handles in Telegram groups, and finally attaching the face to the name and to the
Yeah.
contribution, that's powerful.
Yeah. I think for a lot of us who met kind of during, like before the pandemic and during, and haven't gotten to meet each other in person, it's going to be the figuring out how tall we all are.
yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. The
Yeah.
first time I met Jan, one of the main contributors of UbiPorts, and I thought, oh man, this guy is tall.
A-
Oh,
and then you
Yeah.
find out he was like 17 or 18 at the time.
Yeah.
yeah. It's like, oh, I did not think you were that young. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
happened at the open source summit in September. I got to meet Georg Link from the Chaos project, and he is so tall. He stood up, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like, yeah, he's like 6 foot tall. It's or I have no idea what that is in metric, so about
Around
3 meters
meters, maybe.
ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yes, we have someone on the YouTube channel saying that the next UbuCon is going to be virtual. So, how do you think? I know that Diogo, thanks to we have had you and other Ubuntu community members, because we haven't had a booth at FOSDEM for a while.
Yeah.
So it's been a few years at the very least. And so even before I started this job, people are like, it was in between me going on Twitter saying, yeah, I'm going to start working at Canonical and me actually starting. People were already like, can we have a booth at FOSDEM? And I'm like, I don't think I can make that decision yet, but that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, and now they haven't had the call for booths yet. They're still working the dev rooms out. I think the deadline is Monday for those, but we are going to have a community booth there. And so, how do you think that? I know we've all been doing a lot of virtual conferences for better and for worse. So, how do you think that for virtual conferences like FOSDEM next year, FOSS Asia is also going to be a virtual conference? How has there been a conference you've gone to that you feel has done a good hallway track where you've gotten to interact with people and it doesn't feel awful or tiring, where it feels like you're making actual connections?
Yeah. Michal, maybe you?
Well, actually, the first time I went to FOSDEM, I felt like this is overwhelming but manageable. The the second time it was a bit too much for me, but in my opinion, the local events in Prague and Brno are good experience for people that don't really love that much crowd, but also Ubucons, because the people at Ubucons are usually very nice, and they will give you space if you need it, even during the hallway tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say that Ubucons in Sintra and Gijón had awesome locations, and you could just grab your laptop and sit somewhere in the corner without people really bothering you, and you could type a few words or just collect your thoughts. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here in Portugal, we specifically try to promote the all-way track. That's why we decided that there would be at least a 15 minutes break between any session.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely allowed people to move around calmly between sessions, because there were two buildings. They were connected, but there were two buildings, and they could have a chat and could have a coffee and all that. But the social events around any Ubucon Europe are also very conducive to having social interactions. But regarding online events, I really enjoyed the 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 one well, we were talking about a minute ago. Yeah, the last year's uh, well
Was
FOSDEM, last year's FOSDEM,
mm-hmm.
because they had a cafeteria room.
Yes, I hung out in I hung out in the cafeteria most of the time
Yeah,
talking about food with people.
yeah, I also hung out there, and there was also an hangout corridor or a hallway
Mm-hmm.
room. So I hung out around those two rooms. I also saw a few sessions, and I think these were the most honest uh, attempts of replicating that environment that I saw last year. All others were, they were trying too much. They
Mm-hmm.
were too much organized, too much planned, and that's not what happens on the always.
Mm-hmm.
So on the always and on the cafeteria, people just do whatever, uh,
Yeah.
and that's why it works, I think, for Fosdem.
yeah,
Yeah,
it is
yeah, that
necessary.
oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think it is necessary to have the hallways that are reasonably large so that people can pass through when they want to go see some talk, but still close enough so that you can hear yourself chatting and showing off devices and stuff. So, like I said, I think the Ubucons Sintra and Hikon had a reasonable compromise of space and close knit communities. So
It really is about the compromises, and I will have to say that I think that going to the community run run conferences, I think that they were at better at making those compromises. Oh, sorry, we're having evidently I just got a warning that we're having trouble streaming to Twitch. So people watching on Twitch can let us know if everything is okay. Otherwise, they're like, it's on Twitch's end. So if you're watching on Twitch and it's weird, sorry. Um, but I think having things like I just did a virtual seagull and we had a tea party and it was just we sat around and drank tea and it was awesome.
Yeah,
And I think you're right because when you just overplan, it's hard because we want to make sure people have good experiences. But if we just over organize it, then maybe people, and I think that we're all so exhausted from virtual conferences too,
yeah,
that we want something where we can just be social with each other and have fun. So,
yeah. The social part is really important, and it always have been, at least at Ubicons, there was always a big social component, big dinners,
mhm.
parties, visits
Yeah.
to museums, things like that. It was always a very big thing.
Yeah. I
We
also really do like the idea of the arcade.
Yeah, it was that was really cool. In Gijón, we had a demonstration of traditional music instruments also,
Oh, wow.
and we had a party where we were drinking sidra, which is a local drink.
Ooh.
uh, and here in Essen, we did a visit to a museum, and
Oh,
we did
nice.
lots of dinner parties, very big dinner parties. We also had what's it called, those games where you try to guess things, riddles and things like that.
Oh, the escape rooms.
No, not
Oh.
just people trying to guess
Oh, like a
things. But
yeah.
they were about Ubuntu and free software in general, and it was
Nice.
fun. Um, yeah, and very big dinner parties, and parties after the dinner party,
Mm.
and lots of beer, lots of wine. In France, we went to the arcade thing. We went to also to the inauguration of a bar. We did
Wow.
a tour in the river. We did lots of things. It was really fun. And here in Portugal, we visit lots of museums because the city government gave us free passes for our attendees.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, that's
to
amazing.
Yeah, some people went to surf also, um, and we had dinner parties every night.
Nice. Yeah, they're just having I think that I put a quote up from a follow in the YouTube chat that the best party talks always happen in the kitchen and you just get people together
Yeah,
and sharing food and it's just man that's been something I think we've all really missed.
yeah.
And so this for and we did have somebody asking, I know that it depends a lot, but when do you think you all might know whether an UbuCon would happen in person? Is that something you're thinking more might be a 2023 thing or
Well, we were. all over this time when we were on lockdown, we were always hoping to go to, well, maybe in the end of the year, maybe the beginning of next year,
It's
and things like
also just
we were.
uncertain.
So yeah, so I don't know. I was truly believing that in the end of this year would already be able to do this, but obviously we still can't. It's still not safe enough to big events where we have people from many different places.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess with the vaccination getting more available everywhere, I'm hoping that in the beginning of the next year, at least in the first half of the next year, we can hopefully do something. Maybe not in the first trimester, but maybe on the second.
Mm,
Yeah.
I really hope that we will be able to attend to UbuCon 2023 somewhere in Europe, because
Yeah.
we would like to organize UbuCon 2024 or possibly 2025 in Czechia.
Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
Let's see.
And definitely, I mean, UbuCon 2024, that's going to be our 20th anniversary, and that needs to be an amazing party. Not going to lie.
Czechia has cheap booze.
But how is the
True,
food? And also,
true.
how is the
It's
tea and
great.
chocolate? The tea
Well,
and chocolate, it's important.
I don't know about the tea. The food is great, at least the one that Michal does. So, and
I,
the booze
I,
is
I bet you.
also very cheap. I can attest to that.
Yeah. So what's interesting is that I think the UbuCon Europe at this point might be one of the larger ones, but we do have UbuCon Latin America,
Yeah.
and we had the first UbuCon Asia this year, which went really well. And then the UbuCon North America is happens as part of Scale, which is in Southern California. And so far that looks like that is going to be happening in person.
Oh,
So
cool.
we do have UbuCons that they are global. I think it's just that the European one I think was the first one.
No, no, no. The first
Oh,
one I think was
it's
the American,
American?
yeah,
Oh,
North
okay.
America,
North
and
America.
then maybe either Latin America or I don't know. There was in one in Central America, but I don't think that was the title. I
Mhm.
think the European was the first one was in 2016, so I think there were at least two or three other previously, in Latin
Mhm.
America and North America and maybe somewhere else. Uh,
Mhm.
and then Asia with the first one this year, obviously.
Mhm.
But I hope they continue to do it
Oh,
for many
I
years.
think so. They have some fantastic organizers on that team. The swag they put together, they still have swag. It's really nice. I'm gonna get a hoodie because I need an Ubuntu hoodie so much. Um, and I think that especially with how active they've been, that when I think that this is the first of what I hope is many UbuCon Asias.
Yeah.
So, and we do
Uh,
have a
yeah, and
really
just one
quick.
more thing.
Mhm,
And while Ubucons in Europe are, I think, starting from 2016 onwards, the Ubuntu Party in Paris, which is a slightly different event, it's also a community event, but it's slightly orientedly differently. Um, they have been doing that for many many years. I don't know how many years, and they
Yeah,
do it every 6 months.
and those are awesome. Just the
mm,
preparation of those party is more fun than many events main event.
nice. Yeah, I really need to get over to some of their events. Just saying. It's like we watch the videos and we're like, why can't we do that? And what I love also about the Ubuntu France group is that they go, I mean, obviously things like FOSDEM, LinuxCon, Scale, Linux Fest Northwest, OggCamp, there's a lot of these open source kind of oriented conferences where it makes sense for us to be at. But Ubuntu France is like, let's go to a music festival. And it's just like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that personally I love going to things like Renaissance fairs and like Star Trek and other fanish conventions. It's so much fun. And it would be great. And I know that there's one of the American locos. They do release parties in April as part of this little kind of Spanish con called Penguin Con. And it's like, so it's perfect. It's got penguins. And then they do a Ubuntu release party as part of their kind of like Linux and open source track at this con that has like a Star Trek track and a Star Wars track and costume contests. And I'm like, that's
Yeah, that's cool.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, it allows people that haven't experienced Ubuntu before to learn a bit about it.
Mhm. Exactly. And so I think this is the perfect point, and we've still got some good people chatting here. Is that we really want to know where you, the Ubuntu community, or the 8 people in the community who are watching now, and all of you who are watching this afterwards who can go to our discourse. And I'm actually going to go and share share that post. I don't know if you will get this in the chat, but where oh, let me also post this to the Ubuntu on air. There we go. Okay. The Ubuntu on air YouTube chat. Where should we really concentrate on being this year? We know that we will have community boosts for FOSDEM and for FOSAsia, and we're really excited about that. But for places that will be tentatively in person, where should we make sure that we're at? You know, where would you like an Ubuntu booth to be? And I guess that please, if you are in the chat, please put your suggestions into the chat. But Diogo and Mihal,
Yeah.
we would like to know. We would like to know where are some places that you either kind of before the pandemic or during that you were like, man, it would be great if we, you know, if we keep going here, or wow, we haven't been here yet, or we haven't been here in a while. Where should we be?
Yeah, just before the pandemic, before the UbuCon in Sintra, we've been to Linux Days in Prague, and we've had not exactly a booth, but a table, a table with some cloth, orange cloth, and that was a reasonable success. So I would like to return there once we can get back together in person, because having a booth in an online meetup is not the same. We've had one at DevConf this year. That's a Red Hat sponsored event in Brno, but it was held online. So I stayed at home with my chat and my webcam open for the whole duration. And we've answered some questions. We've discussed snaps versus flatpak, and
Oh boy.
had a bit of fun with the hat wearing nerds there.
At least they are so easy to find in those snazzy hats. Just
Yeah.
saying.
And there's a little bit of back and forth with them, because the former leader of the Czechoslovakian community got hired by Red Hat and is now kicking for the other team. So so we need to regroup and we need to establish our brand in this location as well. So
Mhm.
I think more events in Czechia and Slovakia are needed, at least for the local groups, local
Mhm.
communities, and hopefully we will have some support from other European communities, right, Diogo?
Yeah, there will be support for sure. We we have created this federation of
Yeah.
local communities to support the local
Yeah.
teams, so that we can organize all the local teams to contribute to each other efforts. So there will be help for sure.
And a funny thing happened just before the pandemic. Jan from UBport's community has sent me a few of the BQs and one MX4 to show off
Ooh.
UBports in person at those events, and then we got ourselves a lockdown. So I
You've got a
have
box full of
yeah, I
phones?
have a box full of phones that I have nobody to show off to, but
Well, you could get
Sad.
them and show them off to us. Just saying.
I have to charge them first. But I think Diogo daily drives one, so
Yep. So,
Oh, look, you have a bunch of volunteers in the Twitch chat saying that you can send them to them
well, I'd have to ask Jan for his
for his
uh
blessing.
yeah, for his blessing, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
although
So,
the BQs are getting a little bit old, and
yeah, they are.
UBports is doing awesome work with porting to a variety of different devices. So uh, there's a good chance you can just go on eBay and buy a cheap phone that will run Ubuntu Touch. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah, the BQs and the Nexus 5 are getting a little bit old, and
yeah,
they are likely not to be supported for much longer.
Well,
although it would be really cool to have Ubuntu Touch 2004 on a device that shipped with 1504.
It would, and if it's possible and the community contributes, there will be.
so Diogo, where are some of
So
the places you would like us to be?
so the well, FOSM obviously.
Obviously.
um, there is also an event in the UK which OCamp, which
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
yeah, I would like to go there also. And I would like Ubuntu to have an organized presence there. There are always presence from people from the Ubuntu community, but not, I don't think, an organized Ubuntu
Mhm.
community representation.
Yeah.
Um, there is an event also in Madrid. I don't remember the name, but also happens also yearly, and it's relatively big.
Hmm.
There is an event in Italy, in the south of Italy. Usually, I also
Ooh.
don't remember the name. Oh,
Okay,
uh,
maybe Arigi in the Twitch chat will know. Open source event south of Italy.
yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
Madrid.
Um, and what else? Well, and I think that the Linux Tag in Germany also usually a
Oh,
relatively big event.
next tag.
Linux Tag.
TAG.
Yeah. What else? What else? Well, I think this
And
is it
and
mostly.
yeah. And also if there are any of you here who are in different parts of the world, if there are ones that you would like to volunteer. Oh, is it Open Expo in Ma-
In Madrid.
Madrid?
Yeah. I think that's the name. I think that's the name.
Okay, cool.
mhm. If I
That
can
is.
also plug a few events here in
Mhm.
Slovakia and Czechia, we've got Open Alt, which finished this Sunday and where I gave a talk on Ubuntu community.
Oh, cool.
also DevConf, which I already mentioned, and Linux Days. And there's also Open Slava, which is a wordplay on Open and Bratislava, and
Nice.
which is the capital city of Slovakia. So that's an interesting event held annually.
Yeah.
So
Very
And
hopefully
cool.
we could have some booths there as well.
and if we can join other community events for
Hmm.
organized by other communities like Wikimedia, well, and other communities that are Creative Commons, things that projects that are
Yeah.
adjacent to Ubuntu and free software in general. I think that's a good way to create bridges and do some cross contributions between
Yeah.
projects.
I know I would love to, having gone to their virtual conferences, to have us have an organized presence. Like I know, like we sponsor Academy every year, but having an organized presence there and having an organized presence of things like Guadec would
Yeah,
also
also,
be, I think that those would be really beneficial. And maybe this would be slightly different from a booth, but if we have people, if we could sponsor community members who it would be like, are there key people in the Kubuntu and Ubuntu Studio
mhm.
communities who we could send to Academy so they could use that time to really help their flavors and have people who are working on things in upstream gnome that it would super help. Yes, Britt. Yeah, yes, Britt. We know you're super fond of Quadeck, but having people they're engaging with their upstream and also making those personal connections with them. And I think that would be, I mean, because I got to hang out at both. And I think that when we are seeing each other as people, then it's so much more helpful.
Yeah.
And yes, I think that that would be great. And so sorry to call you out, Britt, but it was just, it was just easy to, I took the low hanging fruit. So, no, so I think we have a good array. And I think that we want to have a good mixture between ones that kind of draw a lot of people together like FOSDEM, but also ones, and I think especially in 2022, that I think the local events where you're getting people not from across countries or continents, but people in the same country together are probably going to be a little bit easier for
Yeah.
people to do. And so find ways to, make sure we have our processes so we can get people a proper branded tablecloth and backdrop. And instead of just, oh, here, orange and purple, go. But having those kinds of things that we can support local organizers. And I know that the Loco research group is that it's been taking a bit longer for them to kind of get their findings back. But
Yes.
I know that once we have that, then we can really get to have a good sense of what's happening locally, because like there's things in Atlanta I'd love to do, but our group is also super defunct. And it's just, they really haven't had any events in a while. And I think that, how do we encourage people to do things on a local basis, even if the locos are kind of still in flux? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Having this connection with people nearby is
Hmm.
what enables to do bigger and bigger things.
Yep,
and
exactly.
and and, and the all the communities that have been more active and like Portugal, France,
Hmm.
some places in South America, and,
Some,
and also North America.
hmm. And
It's
then,
where it's where more things have been happening
yeah.
more consistently.
Yeah, and it makes
Yeah.
sense that like the FOSS or the Ubucon Asia came out of those locos there that are still incredibly active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to plug to if any Portuguese people is watching, we will do a social meeting tomorrow, usually in Sintra.
I got the meetup message.
Yeah,
I
so
wish I
it
could
will
come.
be at 2000 in Saloon, the pub in Sintra where we do this every month. So join
That
us.
sounds awesome. Yeah. And now, one thing is, we were chatting a little bit about before this, but also, what would be like kind of local to you, one of the non-open source, non-tech events that you'd love to have an Ubuntu booth at?
Ah,
I already have an answer.
What's that?
It's inspired by Ubuntu France community. There's a large music festival in Trencin, my hometown, uh,
Ooh,
which usually gets around 30,000 attendees, and
wow,
it's called Pohoda, which is like Slovak word for chill. And
nice,
that would be awesome to have an Ubuntu booth there.
that's
very
a big
cool.
one. I would have to think a bit more about that. Because I haven't been living in Portugal for a few years. I came back to Portugal quite recently. Um, maybe also a music festival, but I don't know which one yet. There are a few that could be more interesting to us, even if they have a smaller audience.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know which still exist now. I'm a bit
That's
out of
true.
touch with that.
We're all kind of finding what festivals are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I already put this on my Twitter, but Ubuntu booth at DragonCon, which is this 90,000 attendee on average. It was much lower this past year. 5-day nerd party in Atlanta. So not only all the traditional stuff like fantasy and Star Trek and every sci-fi franchise you can think of, but also the EFF has a dedicated track there. And so there is a maker's track, a science track, there's all kinds of things. They have for the person who's into retro gaming, somebody brings all of these retro arcade games and he has it rigged so they don't need quarters and you can just go and play your hearts out the whole time.
Hmm.
And I would love to not only have an Ubuntu booth, but get other Linux distros there and just have like a little area where we all get to hang out and be in costume and get people who would probably be interested in us to, get to use us, have some fun, and maybe find, ways that they can get involved in their local communities. And also, I think it'd just be so cool to just fully geek out. So,
Yeah. And try. I'd like to tell everybody just to try to invite other communities, even from other distros,
hmm,
to
yep.
join you. I remember to see in Paris someone doing Ubuntu installations while using a Red Hat, and someone teaching a class in Python with an Arch t-shirt. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's,
there's a lot we can do together, even if you don't do
mhm,
absolutely everything together. There's a lot we can do together. So let's do it. Let's
exactly.
be friends and
Yeah.
contribute to each other.
Exactly. And, I've gotten to know some of the Fedora people. It's like I hung out at their booth in Boston and they are lovely people. And it's just, and there's so much more that we have in common than, than separate. So I
Yeah.
think that yes, it would be awesome to get them in, to get them involved with our events. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
I
yes.
must say that in Brno, the Fedora community is very welcoming. Well, in whole of Czechia, but in my experience, especially in Brno and Prague, and even though Brno is pretty much the Red Hat capital of Europe, because there actually is a large
That's their
office of
office
Red
there.
Hat. Yeah, but they are very very welcoming. They help with organizing events. They always accept our booths and talks. So I must say
Awesome.
that even though there is a bit of rivalry against them, maybe just the one that I feel, but those are some great friends, and they are very helpful, and hopefully we will be able to pay them back once we get on our feet.
That sounds like that. I love that idea. Um, so are there any questions from whoever is left in the au- audience here? I know I'm so happy to all of you who came out. I know this was a slightly different day. My day tomorrow is just going to be nuts. So it was just like, okay, we have office hours on Wednesday or we don't have them this week. And I didn't want to not have them. So any questions for our guests? Any more ideas? Anything that you all have been inspired that you would like us to go to or try to go to this coming year? I feel like I should just have the Jeopardy music to play, but then I would get us a but then I'd get us a content strike, and that would just be something I'm not ready to deal with. So, well, if people do have questions or would maybe like to get involved with some of the organizing, where can they find you?
Yeah, you first.
Well, I'm on Twitter, but I don't post much. I mostly just lurk. It's at Kahutek Michal. I can type it in. And I'm also on Telegram, and we have a lovely forum that is not as active as usual, but it is a good place for the Czech and Slovak community.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, if you type it into the private chat, then I
Okay.
can. Yeah.
So
Oh, perfect.
I'm also on Twitter. I'm at DM Constantino. I'm also on Telegram. I'm easy to find in almost every Ubuntu related group.
That's
Uh,
exceedingly true.
and yeah, I, I'm also easy to find by email, Diogo Constantino at ubuntu.com. And yeah, just I'm pretty easy to get in contact. So I'm everywhere.
You That is exceedingly true. I remember having to find you. And I'm like, oh, that was not hard. So
Nope.
excellent. And as always, I am at Community Tea Time on Twitter. You can find me on the discourse forums if you tag me at Mad Hens. And then also, we do have a new address if you would just like to get in touch with the community team. It is community at canonical.com. So, obviously, if you think of anything, if you think of events that you would like us to be at, whether they are virtual or possibly in person, and of course, I'm going just to repost this here. This is the link to the discourse, and please put your comments there. Feel free to reply to others, but we will definitely give people updates on how our event planning is going. So, anyway, Diogo, Mihal, thank you so much for coming. I'm so sorry for butchering your name. So,
It's okay. And
okay.
you are getting better.
Okay, good. Very good. But thank you both for coming on. I'm sure we will get to talk to you in the future. And Mihal, I think that you should show people your awesome shirt. Speaking of
Okay.
events.
Ah, yes.
Yes, I've got this shirt too. Yeah. That would now what event did you make that for?
Uh, Actually, I didn't make it. I commissioned it.
Oh,
My
commissioned it.
my friend's little daughter. She's 12 and she's an aspiring artist. And after I built her graphics design computer, she drew this for me. So I had it printed and I sent it to a bunch of people. You included, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Including me.
Diogo, do you have one?
I don't have one.
Then I must give you one. I think I still have some in your size. So
Okay, cool.
so
I
next
will
time
be
Awesome.
very. I'll be very happy to get to get
so
one. And
so
so
next
I'll,
time you next time you come to Ubuntu Summer Camp in Slovakia, I'll get you one.
okay, cool, cool.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you for everyone who tuned in either live or who watched this stream afterwards. And hopefully, if you're watching this afterwards, you're watching it after we have put on some fantastic in person event and you are seeing how it all got started. So, thank you everyone, and we have a very full schedule next week. We have Yannick on air next Tuesday. He is at, oh my God, let me do the time math, 2030 UTC. Oh, wait, no.
No,
He does it at 3:30 my time, which is 15:30. That's 2030 UTC because
could
we're 5 hours behind now.
yeah,
So, and then Diogo is going to be joining us as one of our new community hosts, and he will be
yay.
doing with the Ubuntu Flutter, with the Flutter community in Portugal.
Yeah,
And that will be at what time on Wednesday?
21:30 UTC.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And oh my gosh, I really hope I didn't put the wrong time on. I just see people tuning in now, and I'm wondering if I put the wrong time for this. I hate this week because the UTC offset shifts from 4 to 5, and I hate
We
daylight
can
savings
start over
time.
if you'd like.
Okay, there we go. Oh my god. Yeah, so you will be 21:30 next Wednesday, all
Yeah,
about Flutter and using it to make apps.
yeah.
So, which
It
is
will be.
wonderful.
We'll start with an introduction to Flutter, and then some more.
Nice. Oh, and Daniel was saying that Twitch pinged him a minute ago. Wow, Twitch really. We need to get better at that, or I need to annoy people. And then, so we have Ubuntu on Air Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we will be here at, let's see, at 17:45 UTC on Thursday, and we will be interviewing teacher Stu Karoff and the sixth graders from his Penguin Corps, who are the
That's
most talented Ubuntu support staff who probably still has a curfew and homework. So we're really excited about next week. So
I'm.
thank you all. Yes.
Thank you, and see you
Bye.
soon.
All right. And everyone have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or very early morning, depending on where you're tuning in from. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.